to discuss something which is based on some reasoning, some logics, that when we are talking about human rights and when we are talking about the present situation, and as there are some doubts that whether it's a suspension of human rights or not. So today I will try, let's see that whether in the context of political studies, political philosophy, how these type of emergencies that are imposed on Indian citizens and even to the global citizens, that I would like to justify, or I would like to say that let's see whether I am able to justify it or not. For this, I would like to share some, just a moment, my computer. I would like to share that if I can share my computer with you, just a moment, it will take 2-3 minutes. The thing is that when we are talking about the human rights and when we are talking about the title that I have taken, I'm sorry, I'm not able to share my screen with you, which I was, just a moment.
Okay,
Just a moment. Yeah, it is getting open just 2 minutes.
now, yeah, it's
I don't
okay
know
now.
whether.
It's opening.
Thank you so much. Can you see this now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Now, today I have decided to discuss about a topic, and I have given the title of Revisiting Human Rights in the Emergency of COVID-19. Now, instead of taking any other term, I would like to go with the term emergency, because due to this global disease, there are some situations arise before the global community to take some very honest and quick action to control the disease and to reduce the human sufferings. Human rights we are talking about, and since morning I know you are talking about human rights, but here are some philosophical understandings about the human rights. As we all know, I will not go into the detail of it because I know it's very boring to know some theories or some ideas, so I will go very quick. First is that when we are talking about human rights, it's the third generation of rights, and it is realized and endorsed as essential condition for dignified life, which Hitesh sir has just talked about, that what is the dignified life. But one thing which is very much clear is that when we are talking about dignified life, he wants to have a dignified life, but maybe your interpretation, your understanding about having a dignified life is something else and mine is something else. But one thing which is very much clear, and about which there is a common consent, is that there must be situation must be assured by a legitimate authority, so that every individual can have a dignified life. I will not go into the debate of what is the meaning of dignified life. Now, the another very important aspect is that it is based on common consent. What type of rights are supposed to be considered as human right is certainly debatable, but there are supposed to have some rights. And about this, there is a global consensus about it. Yes, again, I'm repeating myself that maybe meaning of right, you can claim that having internet or having 2-3 cars is my right. But there are some facts on which we all are agree that there must be right to have life. So about this, there is a common consent. Second, which is very important, is that human rights after Second World War, because it has been advanced after Second World War, it has been realized as avoid human sufferings. So as being a human, you were being suffered in past, and therefore you are being awarded as human rights. So the first very important thing is that human rights are supposed to give justice to the people who have suffered in the past. Another is, it's again creating a capacities of individuals, among the individuals, that they can do something. If I'm not able to walk, it's the duty or obligation of a state, of an ideal state, to provide some situation that can make me able to walk. So that is to increase my capacities. Second, it is also known as entitlement and privileges. You are a human being, and therefore you are being entitled to have certain conditions as being that are being assured and are being protected and are being endorsed by the state. Another is, it's a virtue of humanity. And the last, which is, and the second last, which is very important, which is, I think, is very close to the discussion of mine today, is that it is actually synthesized. It has actually synthesized the principles of individualism and collectivism. Sorry if you cannot see the collectivism. When I'm seeing that human right is trying to synthesize the principles of individualism and collectivism, that means that whatever rights I am enjoying as being a human, it should not stop your right to be entitled as you are getting it, because you are also a human being. So my right as being individual is supposed to give some benefit. Ultimately, some benefit is supposed to be there to the community, to the society, and whatever benefit your community is getting because of the human right, exercise of human right, it should be benefited to me. The last very important is that rights are trumps. That means you cannot suspend, you cannot transfer, you cannot do like that it's my right to walk, but for 10 days I am giving this right to me. So rights are not something that you can delegate. So suppose if then in this COVID-19 situation, when your right to move has been restricted, that is otherwise given in fundamental rights in Indian Constitution, and if it has been restricted, I cannot if I am having a pass. Should I speak? I think there is lots of disturbance. I don't know for what reason. Krishna, can you please see that what is that?
आईफोन जो एक पार्टिसिपेंट है जिनका आईफोन, श्वेता कुमारी एंड डॉक्टर पूनम रानी, आई रिक्वेस्ट आप अपना म्यूट करें.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you very much. Now, we will try to discuss about some logics of control when there are suspension of human rights during this emergency of COVID-19. And here there are some concerns about which I think those who are thinking intellectually, or maybe trying to think too much rational, they have certain questions in their mind that if a state is having power of suspension, if the suspension is challengeable, what makes suspension logical? And lastly, if a state can put an enforced conditions of social distancing. Now, one very important thing is that as being a social being, your first right is to be social, because we all know that human beings, as being a social beings, they cannot maintain a social distance for a long time, because if logically, if you will see that a social distance is not a distance from one family, but maybe it's not limited that you should not enter into your neighbor's house, but it is so that the person who is having some symptoms of COVID is supposed to be in isolation. So that means whether this distance is having some logics with the help of some political ideas, political theories that are advanced in political understandings. I would like to discuss that whether how these logics are, how this logic of control is working in the situation of COVID-19. Now, one very important thing is that why I am going like this, I could have talked about simply about the facts that what is the situation, what will be the impact of COVID-19 on economy or in politics, or how the situation, how the world will be after this COVID-19. And I believe that there will be after, there will be, sun will rise surely. The thing is that I think that we should think logically, so that if you are knowing the logics, you will accept things easily. If I will say that you should not go out, it will be considered as a breach. But if I will give you a reason that why you should not go out and why social distancing is important with the logical reasoning, then I think the half of the problem will be solved. And here we are trying to do that. The first theory which I am taking help of is social contract theory. And you can see here, there are some crosses. I'm sorry, I have made like this. I'm not a very good person in computer. But this cross conflicts, and this figures are representing the individuals. And this whole picture is showing human beings in natural state. Natural state means when there was no language, no state, no property, no family, no law, nothing. And this was the situation where everybody was in war in between. Because of this situation, there was absence of clarity and there was a presence of inconvenience. Inconvenience means that what are the laws? Who will interpret the laws? Who will implement the laws? And if the laws are not being followed, what will be the punishment? So due to these type of inconveniences, and I am just presuming that how human beings have entered into the idea of a state, and why this COVID-19 emergency is asking you and me for social distancing and curtailing some of our rights, including right to move. Now, absence of this clarity, inconveniences, and because of this inconveniences, there was no right to life among them. This person is very powerful and this person can kill this person. After a few days, this person is becoming very powerful. And so this person is killing to this person. So there was a constant conflict among them. To come out from that, there was a common consensus to escape from inconveniences. Whatever I am talking about, I'm talking in reference of social contract theory that was being advanced by Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau. So I will not go into detail of it because that's not the subject of today's discussion. Now, another thing, because of this common consensus to escape from inconveniences, there was a consent to surrender the own to get back own self. This person has surrendered the right to kill this person on the grounds that this person will protect everybody. Everybody means right to life. If this person tomorrow is trying to hit me, you should intervene. You should have a law that nobody will kill anybody. I am surrendering my power to kill anybody with an expectation that even all these rest of the people will surrender this powers to this one man, and like this, how there was origin of a state. Now, how the COVID-19 situation is close to the social contract theory. Here, you can see the difference of the figure, which is now replaced by plus. Result of social contract theory was, as I said, that it was a social contract. Before state, there was a contract between among the people, and then the people have decided to have a state. This social contract was, though, between the social people, but the nature of that was a political one. And since the nature was political one, there was emergence of a state. Now, what is happening after emergence of a state is, all these people who were living earlier in the state of inconveniences, where no life was being secured, anybody can kill anybody, and there was a situation of constant war. This COVID-19 and this plus has created a situation of connection and interdependency. We in modern state are completely interdependent on each other. And trust me, this is maybe for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. But if you will ask me that every time you will have not the seminar, but the webinars, I will not be happy, because I want to see people, people's eye to eye. I want people to interact personally, and I want to feel the people. So obviously, when we people are talking about the COVID-19 situation, it is not something which is very much welcoming, very much comfortable, and you want to come out from this situation because you are a social being, as we have discussed in the beginning. Since you want, you are not very much convenient with the problems of COVID-19, there is a common consensus and demand for escape from suffering of disease. In entire globe, there will be nobody, the person who is even willing to go out, want to have some parties, will not say that, no, I'm fine with COVID-19 and there is no need to escape from the disease. Everybody is agree on this, and because of this agreement, I'm sorry, screen is not full, I think, to you, but here I have, just a moment, let me try a bit. No, it will not work. The thing is that there, on this side, on my right hand side, I have made that what legitimate authority, that is government, is going to do. You are demanding to the government that there must be escape from the suffering of the disease, and on return of it, here you can see the very small arrow, which is coming from the government side. It is saying that, yeah, it is expecting that government is expecting from the citizen that I will suspend of right to escape from suffering of disease. I am going to suspend some of your rights, and that will include your right to move, right to worship, right to propagate your religion, right to assemble, right to settle any place, and of your profession as well. And as a result of this suspension, what is happening? You are not allowed to go out because police is waiting outside for you. You are not allowed to go to temple or to mosque. And if you are doing so, then you can be arrested. You cannot do propagate. It means online you can obviously do, because and therefore in even in the Ramzan period, Muslim community is not been allowed to have namaz, because it is a type of assembly. So assemble is right to assemble is being suspended, and right to settle as well. And profession, as we all know, that shopkeepers are not allowed to open their shops, and which is a curtailment of your fundamental right. Now, why all these rights are being suspended? Because to secure your life. And you and me cannot argue against this suspension, because see here on the second stage, what you have done, you have accepted that we want to escape from the suffering of the disease. And since you have already given your consent, if this suspension is imposed on you, you or me, as being a citizen of India, all the fundamental rights are being assured in Indian Constitution. But right to freedom, which is given in Article 90, cannot argue for it. Another Article 21 said that there will be no detention and no arrest without a warrant. But since you have promised for the consensus, you would say that it's fine if you are arresting me without a first logic, that why when we are talking about this shutdown, and when we are talking about all type of this restrictions that are on us to stay at home, not to move, not to go to temple. And when I'm putting here as a worship, I'm talking about the temple. I'm not talking about worshiping at home. Another thing is that when we are talking about the concerns, why? Because your ultimate aim is to secure your life. And secure your life, we all know that COVID-19, the biggest threat is that if you will be in contact with the people, it will spread. In the light of this, you are agreeing that yes, since this will spread, I will not oppose, or I will not challenge in future that during the time of COVID-19 emergency, I was being arrested by these people. And now under Article 32, which is saying that you can go to the court if your fundamental rights are being suspended. This right you are not having, because as I said in the beginning, that it's an emergency, which is entitling government to take certain actions in favor of the people to secure the people. Another theory, which is I would like to go very quickly, is about input-output approach, which is given by David Easton. This theory is mainly used for the comparative studies. Here, the theory is saying that every state is a system, and system is having subsystem. I will not go into the detail of it. I know it's very boring, but just I'm trying to match it with the situation of COVID-19, just trying to find the logics behind it. Now you can see the input and the output. In input, there are two things which are going into the system, that is a state. First is the demand. You and me, in the beginning, we have seen in the last PPT, we have seen that you and me have demanded that we should escape, we should control this disease, and we are willing to come out from these inconveniences. So the demand, what you have made, is that I want to go out from the situation. Disease is supposed to be controlled. But this demand will not be fulfilled until if you're not supporting. And this is a plus. Support means you should maintain the social distance. You should agree for suspension of your rights. You will be agree that for prayers, you are not going to be assembled together. And only if you are supporting the government in the way it is being expected by the government, then only your demand can be fulfilled. So this demand and support together will work. There will be some filtering. I will not go into the filtering process. But if this too is given, the government will make the laws and the policies will keep changing. And there you can see laws though is a very hard actions of the government. And so far government has not made any laws related to this. But policies certainly, and therefore you might have noticed that in those areas where people are supporting and people are cooperating with the government, the whole area is being divided into red, green, and the yellow zones. This division is a result of what? This is a result of your support. You have supported the government, and government has changed the policies. Since the demand was that you should relax some of the essentials of the of urgent essentials of the life, the policy is being changed, and now there are some shops that are being opened. Once when these policies are being made, it is going to the environment. Environment means the society, the people like you and me. And then again, then some demands will be there. Like suppose earlier government has decided, has made a policy that during this COVID-19, milk and vegetables are going to be supplied. People have cooperated, government has made the policies, and now we got benefit. Another demand has come that no, the plumber, the electricity is also essential, and government realized yes, it is essential, and then again policies been made, and therefore some other important areas are being open, and it has gone to the environment. When we are talking about this situation in the context of emergency COVID-19, demand is to control the disease, as we have discussed under. The support will be what? To follow the instructions, mainly about the social distancing. And if these two will work together, there will be desired results that is favorable to human race. And
I request the participant please mute your audio other than the speaker. Thank you. Ditiji, you can continue.
human race, I'm using the term human race because human race is a term used for the global community. I think I should finish it very fast, because then people are getting bored. The thing is that when we people are talking about when we are talking about this situation of COVID-19 or the logics behind it, we have already surrendered politically. If you will look at it, you will see that you have already surrendered some, because when you have entered into the state without your choice or with your choice, you cannot escape from the instructions that are given by the state to you. And one thing which is very important here is that the instructions and the suspensions on human right are supposed to be logical. And if you will look at the news channels these days, they are to put an argument, they are trying to show a picture, they are trying to justify that why this type of restrictions were very much important. They are showing us the data that if you will not follow the instructions, then if there would be no this lockdown, then the patient, the number of patient would be in this lakhs, that lakhs. This is why, because government is knowing, whatever is the government, but the legitimate authorities are knowing that when you are putting restrictions on some of the fundamental rights, some of the human rights of human beings, then you are supposed to be more logical. So the logic, the control of logic, or the logic of control, is even being realized and even being endorsed by the governments. And I hope that if the logics will be understood in a proper way, if we will argue in a logical way. See, very important thing is, if you will preach anybody, if you will show anybody that, see, if you will not do like this, that will happen, you should do like that, then maybe people will not accept you. Because one very important thing is that human beings are intellectual beings. They have wisdom. And you can convince anybody with the use of this virtue of wisdom. And therefore, when you are arguing for any type of suspension of rights, you have to be very logical. That when you are suspending, the rights will ultimately secure your life. Look, in the context of these two theories, that is social contract theory and the approach of input-output theory, then you will understand that this two theory, because if you will not support and if you will constantly only demand, then there will be a bust. Every system, every state is having some type of capacity to carry the burden of demand. And if the demands are too much without a support, and support means when I'm agreeing that, okay, if my DA is not given to me, it's fine with me. If you are deducting 1 day salary from the government employees, it's fine. This is the way of my support. It's not just a support that I'm staying home and I'm maintaining social distancing. It's not just enough. My support is continue. My support is continue to the financial things. My support is continuous to the political things and also to the social things. With this, I would like to end with my discussion, and please ask questions if there are many. Again, I would like to say thanks to Mukesh sir and the Human Rights Education Association for
Yes,
allowing me
ma'am.
to put my ideas. Thank you, Krishna, for your comment. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you so
all
much,
for being
ma'am.
there.
And we have few questions already put in. So I am going to be reading out the questions for you, ma'am. The first question from Nidhi. It says, Madam, my question is, how will the understanding and concept of human rights evolve in post-COVID-19 scenario? What changes, in your opinion, can be expected in international human rights law?
Oh, thank you very much, Nidhi. It's a wonderful question. One thing is very important. See, which is of that when we are talking about the international laws, because since there is no
Proceed with
no.
presentation, ma'am.
Thank you very much. We are talking about international laws. I don't know whether those laws are going to be followed or not, because one thing is there that we know that global community is global, but not in the senses. You and me there as the, excuse me, just a moment. You and me are saying that there is a globalization, these and that, but international bodies so far not having any force. They don't have any army. They have some, they are declaring certain things. They are passing some resolutions, but the legality of this resolution is there. So I don't think that after this COVID-19, there will be a continuity of the social contract. Another thing which is very important is that social continuous now even is not because you and me are really very nice people and we are believing on the contract, but you and me are there because we know that we are vulnerable. Scared I am maintaining social distance because if I will not maintain it, maybe I may get some symptoms of COVID-19 and maybe I will lose my life. So when we people talking about, and please Nidhi, if I'm not addressing to your question, you have right to ask sub question as well. But looking at this social contract, which is hidden, which is not visible, which is not written anywhere, is there because, as I said, that we are vulnerable, and because we all know that international is international, there is no boundaries, and if you don't have any boundaries, you will not have any police. So I don't know after post COVID situation what will be the scenario, but one thing I'm very much sure is that since human beings are vulnerable, they will surely take care of it. They will surely accept the guidelines of World Health Organization if the World Health Organization is giving it neutrally, and you know what I mean by neutral.
I think you've answered the other question from Srijna Bhatla also. How can the human rights be implemented in a proper and positive way during the post-COVID-19 scenario, and what kind of changes could be seen in the behavior of the people at the time of post-COVID-19 scenario?
One thing I would like, because this question is even very good. I'm happy that good questions are coming. About this question, what will be the situation of human rights? See, one danger is always there. And the danger is that maybe states will misinterpret human rights. and that danger is. But as I said, that if you have logic, you know, in politics, only logics that can win. You are acting anybody's authority, anybody who is CM, anybody is prime minister, you are that the prime minister is saying that now you have to encourage the doctors, these and that, and you are agreeing. Why? Because you know that the person who is sitting over there is having a logic of democracy. So there is it's a very good question. There is a threat to human rights in future, but it's a logical. Then you have to surrender. And I'm sure that none of the government can make any illogical as logical, because we are human rational beings. If they are rational, then even we are double rational. So we can always challenge if any type of curtailment of human right is happening. Then certainly we can. And therefore the NGOs are very important. Yeah, next question.
One more question from Ria Dave. She is asking, some of the fundamental rights are curtailed due to COVID-19 global pandemic. Do you think after this long period of suspension of rights, speaking psychologically, people realize a violation of rights? Ma'am, do you observe any changes in political behavior of people regarding the rights?
It's a wonderful question. I'm very happy that people were listening. Certainly, when we are talking about, the change will be noticed, obviously. You may, because many times it happens that if a child is always locked in a room, and then if it has been said that, see, I don't have anything else, I will give you just pizza. So he or she, that child will always have pizza. He is not knowing that there is something called bhakri, there is something called chambal. One thing is very important, that I don't think that, because we are by virtue we are social beings, by virtue we are political beings. So I don't think this temporary suspension of our rights, human rights, will make a huge change in your behavior. And I think that the webinar type of initiative is an initiative to keep you alive. Let's say you are a political being and you have to challenge the things are going wrong. So I'm very optimistic about this, and this is, I think that every period is giving some lesson to us, and this is also, let's see how much we will learn from this period. But this political behavior, certainly it is going to be changed, but not for the long time. I'm sure about the like, if you are fractured for 6 months and you were not able to walk, but after you walk, there are doctors who will help you to walk, and there are intellectuals who will help you to understand that what are human rights and how you can exercise your human rights. So don't worry about it. There are some negativity, but I'm sure things will improve.
All right, one more question, ma'am. Kalrav has asked, how should we create a balance between human rights and human lives at a time when human lives are endangered and critical of their own existence?
It's a very good question. It's very difficult, because see, one is very important, especially in the situation of COVID-19. Your fundamental rights are actually threatening to your life. It is that you can move, you can settle, you can profess, you can propagate, you can worship, but because of these things, you are actually challenging to your life. You are putting your life in danger. So you have to select either your life, or this is the first time, I think, in the history of human civilization, that whatever was given earlier in the list of human rights, because to have dignified life, is taken back by the state. That I'm sorry, for reasons, you will not able to enjoy your human to move or assemble or any other right, because I want to secure your life. So one thing which is very often I used to tell in my classes as well, that which fundamental right is the most important for you, and that is to have a life. Human rights are given to make balance between, not just to balance, sorry, but to make your life more comfortable, more dignified. But as I said, that this is the first time when human race is facing the challenge. And I don't want that in future these type of emergencies should come, where human rights itself is surrendering to the state that it's fine, take all my rights and I will not do this because I want to live. You know, social distancing is a boat on which you and me have to sail. And what we are doing, we are putting all our human rights at the corner. It is somewhere else. And I'm sure that once when we will cross the ocean of trouble, we will certainly get it back. And if the state will not give, we know how to get it back. You know that.
And 5. Very good. And now up and down. Up. Down.
Any other question?
Any other questions? Please.
Up. Down. Up. Down.
Sorry.
And the last time. Up. Down. Very good.
Hello. Sorry. Any other questions? Ma'am, I sent a question. Your question was, okay. Ma'am, I feel that the life of social human beings will be somewhat different from the life we had before the COVID-19 pandemic. What are the opinions regarding it? This is going to be the last question. This is by Mr. Batla. Yeah.
Yes, certainly. Life will not remain same. See, but the thing is that like earlier, life was not same. Now even life is not same, and even in future it will not be same. It's only you and me who can decide that whether what sameness you want back. You want same pollution, you want same crowd, you want same type of noise pollution, or you want to control all this and then to maintain the social relations with the people. So certainly life will not, but I think that even at this in this WhatsApp and all, I have seen that people are just very much concerning about that life will not be same. I don't know what makes you to think like that, that life will not be same. It's just a temporary period, and I'm sure maybe we will make some changes. Maybe for a few months more, we will have we will use sanitizer, we will cover our faces, we will put scarf on our heads. But I think that and nothing is permanent. It will not remain as permanent. A disease cannot change you entirely, because since if your age is suppose 25 or 30, something you were doing for 30 years, do you think months will change you entirely? I think when things will get open, maybe for 2-3 days you will feel that no, I should not touch anything, I should not hug anybody. But trust me, the first desire of yours will be that I should hug my loved ones. And this time will tell that this is going to happen very soon.
All right. On this note, thank you so much, Dr. Dipti Acharya, for this wonderful session and answering all the questions and doubts about our participants had. In fact, हमारी जिंदगी थोड़ी सी तो चेंज होने ही वाली है आफ्टर कोविड-19 पैंडेमिक ऑल्सो, कि हम लोग थोड़े से और हाइजीन मेंटेन करेंगे और इनफैक्ट मास्क वगैरह पहनेंगे या फिर हाथ में ग्लोव्स वगैरह डाल के थोड़ा सा हाइजीन मेंटेन करने की कोशिश करेंगे. And we would try to be more human than we were before, not giving a hand to somebody who is in need. I think हमारा थोड़ी सी जिंदगी change होगी, and I think this is going to be good for ourselves to be more hygienic और थोड़ा सा और cleanliness पे या फिर nature पे और ध्यान देंगे, तो ये शायद से अच्छी बातें ही होंगी. शायद से pollution हम लोग बिना वजह हम लोग ऐਵੇਂ ही स्कूटर या गाड़ियां निकाल के नहीं जाएंगे, थोड़ा चल के चले जाएंगे. I think this is going to be our giveaways to the nature that we have learned from COVID-19. So thank you so much, Dr. Dipti Acharya. We would like to say
thank
the
you,
last
Krishna.
word.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mukesh, you would like to say something?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Dipti Acharya. Thank you,
Thank you,
all the
sir.
participants,
Thank
and especially Krishna. Tomorrow morning, we are again meeting
Thank
for
you, sir.
10:30 morning, and very interesting subject tomorrow. Dr. Poonam Munishran.
It was a wonderful section. Thank you, sir, and thank you, ma'am.
Somebody is singing, I guess.
Thank you.
All right. Please mute yourself. I'll just give away the
Please mute
closing
your
notes. Please mute yourself. Thank you so much, everybody who joined in for the session. It was wonderful session. और बस इतना कहूंगी कि असफलता एक चुनौती है, उसे स्वीकार करो. क्या कमी रह गई, सोचो और विचार करो. जब तक अपने लक्ष्य को ना पालो तुम, जब तक अपने लक्ष्य को ना पालो तुम, नींद चैन त्यागो तुम. बैठे बैठे यूं ही किसी की जय जयकार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती. और हम लोग सब कोशिश कर रहे हैं कोविड-19 को हराने में, और ज्यादा से ज्यादा आप घर में रहे, सुरक्षित रहे, और हाथ मुंह धोते रहे बार बार अपने, और अगर कुछ बाजार से चीजें भी लेके आ रहे हैं तो सैनिटाइज करते रहे. एंड स्टे होम, स्टे फिट, एंड stay healthy, and stay safe. Thank you so much. And HREA की ओर से, Human Rights Education Association की ओर से, I would like to thank all the participants, all the esteemed speakers, and Mukesh ji for putting in such a wonderful session. आप सब नहीं होते तो ये session भी नहीं मुमकिन हो पाता. So thank you so much. This is your host Indos Krishna Verma signing off for this day. And मैं कल सुबह 10:30 बजे वापस मिलूंगी आपको with this wonderful session going ahead. और 10 minutes का मेरा सेशन रहेगा जहाँ पे मैंने कुछ मोटिवेशनल कविता लिखी है COVID-19 के ऊपर, which I'm going to be reciting tomorrow. So please be there sharp at 10:30. I'll see you there. Good morning करते हुए हम लोग कल सुबह मिलेंगे 10:30 को on the Zoom session. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.